A silence kind of falls over the wagon a bit because it's more serious. But you can also see Willowdale coming up on the horizon, maybe a half hour out. This travel now kind of takes you into the sunset-y portion of the day, having left at a little afternoon, with the sun starting to set now over the mountains to the west. And what you notice pretty quickly is sort of similar to what you saw on the way across, which is this is not a large city. This might be the size of a Denard, but it's certainly no Falstock or anything of that nature, not a Harnstead. What's nice about it, though, as you guys approach on the cart is it's different. Now that you have a closer look at it as you ride to the exterior of the town, you can see that unlike a lot of the other smaller villages you've been to, well, there's only been a few at this point, but still, there's not dirt paths, but everything is actually grass. And you can see where it's all been intentionally tamped down to make paths through it. It's not like growing wild and difficult for the wagon wheels to get through. But even so, it's a much greener city. Harnstead had some elements of this to it with the vines and the nature and whatnot, but this is different. This one just seems to be grassy, pleasant. As you approach, also, I'll have everybody make a perception check. A natural 1 for Thea.
Oh, dear.
The horses get a little rowdy on her towards the end of this journey. They've had to do a lot of riding the last couple of days, and she has to focus her attention on keeping them at bay as opposed to looking around.
21.
Yeah, 10.
9.
Tessie and Crash, you can kind of hear this, but Isaac, you have a better sense of it. Like yesterday when you came through, there does appear to be some commotion in the city, but it sounds pleasant, like the day before. It sounds like jovial exultation and people crying out, and there's laughter, and you can hear what appears to be maybe some kind of music in the background. It's too far off to make out from here, but whatever's going on in this little village appears to be on fleek.
Well, Tossian definitely gives the glance, like, interesting? Maybe we should go check it out? That kind of thing. Like, ooh, like the kid in the aisle that sees some candy and is like...
It occurs to me my dad could have, my father could have spies here if Lycidian was any indication. So, howdy, y'all. I'd like you to meet Stu McKinley. Just a simple farmer boy from the ranch down yonder. Pleased to meet your acquaintance, ma'am. And I extend my hand to Thea.
She takes it back. She kisses it on the knuckles. She says, "Well, I reckon this is a sight for sore eyes, but I don't know how that's going to help if your father's as well connected as you say."
Oh,
Would not they notice that you are traveling with Tessian Black and a giant blue dragonborn?
well, I reckon it might be enough to throw him off the scent. And I kind of stick my hand out and I pluck a piece of straw and I stick it in my teeth. People see what they want to see. I learned that from Tales of the Gunslinger.
Tessie just mumbled something about something, don't want to know. It's not... Yeah.
Thea's like, "Well, far be it for me to blow it up, I suppose. What the hell?" And she also plucks one of the things of straw. She seems to be on board with us doing an accent for really no reason whatsoever.
I like it.
It's Gunslinger inspired. As you guys head into town, as it were, what you can quickly see just from both the exterior and then as you start to head into the streets, into like the center of the city, is that we're talking maybe a few hundred houses, if not a couple hundred houses. Not large by any stretch of the imagination, but pleasant. That same grassy path extends as you, especially on this more major road. You can even see that some of the alleyways as they were, these are not big houses like in some of the cities you've been in recently, but some of the areas between them are also similar in that they have this really grassy green look to them. It's nice. And sort of like Harnstead, where Harnstead was also kind of like a nice thing after a couple of cities that frankly were not all that welcoming or appealing visually, you can kind of see why, and why everybody's having a good time and seems to be in good spirits. You also see, as you get to what's essentially like the town square, this area in the center that opens up and doesn't have any houses immediately in the vicinity, there is a crowd that sort of blocks your vision of what's happening in the middle, but it seems to be in a circle, a pretty big circle that's encompassing whatever's going on in the center of the city. You may have to hop off the wagon if you want to get a closer look, but there's something going on in the center of town here.
Where we like, are we heading up a certain direction? Like, are we gonna park? Is Thea slowing down for the view here, or are we just like
Just
look
ride
at
into
these
them
guys,
and bowl them
like,
over. It's just bodies flying everywhere. Yeah, she has kind of slowed because she wants to, and she even kind of leans back and says it. She says, "Well, I reckon we should be stopping." It's just not a very good accent for her, by the way. Like, it has none of the seriousness of Grail's parents. All right, so just know that it's silly. I reckon we should be stopping.
We don't have to do the accent now unless you want to. It's more for.
I admit I don't have a lot of practice at it. I was trying it out. I don't think it's very good.
Well, lass, we'll practice together. As far as where to go next, I don't very well know. What do you think, Tessian?
Well, I reckon that we should y'all go look yonder.
Well, what do you think, Karash?
Y'all are dumb.
All right, he's in the spirit of it. Very good, Karash.
He might have the best accent of any of us.
Well, yes, so I guess we could park and see what all the commotion is about.
So
Would make sense.
So she steers the wagon over to a fence post and just kind of ties the reins to it so the horses will chill. So it's near enough to the square where you guys can easily see it as you head in. You guys, she's going to kind of fall behind and let whomever wants to take point here. She's happy to tag along, but she doesn't want to be pushy.
Tessian will do it if Isaac doesn't step up, but he suspects Isaac will.
No. I was actually going to let Karash do it. So if Tessian does it, that's totally fine. I do rustle my hair, though. I want it to look as messy as possible. That's all.
I'll approach the center of this kind of crowd thing they got going.
And I'll follow in a line right behind Crash and Tessian.
Okay. So, everybody make a perception check.
Oh, Lord. Maybe we'll get over a 10 this time, guys.
Thea's on point this time.
12.
13!
12.
Thea's, hold on, I gotta see her sheet. That's right, she doesn't have a plus to it. So it's just a +1. 18. What you've stumbled upon appears to be a competitor's ring. Everybody is in a circle, like 3 or 4 people deep. So it's a good, 100 or so people that are watching this. And in the center, you see a long, thick rope that's laying on the ground, stretched taut, straight, with 2 bits of, like, it's hard to tell what, but cloth of some kind, a handkerchief or something tied on them. And there's a line painted in the center of this ring. And as you guys kind of gently push your way through the crowd and get to the front of it to get a nice look at it, there is a tug-of-war competition happening currently. What you see is a burly-looking half-elf, probably about as tall as Gothak was, maybe a hair shorter, but easily 6.5, 7 feet, maybe even a smidge more. Towering figure, decked out in what appears to be pretty serious armor, and across him on the other side, holding this rope, is a halfling, maybe 3 foot tall, maybe 40 pounds, maybe 45. I mean, I wouldn't dare ask a woman her weight, but she is. She doesn't appear to be aware of the situation she's in. She's just standing there waiting for some kind of signal. They're both kind of taut, but they're not actually pulling each other yet. They're just seemingly waiting to engage in this competition. She has this kind of matted brown hair, gray eyes. Looks, you don't have a ton of experience with halflings, but does look a little bit on the older side. Not old, but maybe middle-aged or more. And you watch as there's a male gentleman who steps in to the center, just at the footstep of the line where it's at, and he says, "All right, our next matchup. Contestants, are you ready?" And he looks at both of them. The half-orc just kind of grunts. The halfling just nods, raises his hand up in the air, throws it to the ground, and you watch as immediately the rope rises up off the ground as the two of them start pulling on it, and it starts to fly in one direction. But it's not the one you expect, as the half-orc starts grunting with exertion as he's already losing this battle, and he's trying to keep his feet planted in the ground, and he's already losing traction, and he starts outright stumbling forward as he holds onto the rope. He's no longer able to stop himself from sliding, and within a matter of seconds, that the piece of rope that's tied to, or the fabric that's tied to his side of the rope, basically goes flying across the center of the ring. He falls face forward, almost slides like a foot from the exertion that he's being pulled across with, and there's a raucous cheer that comes out from the crowd. The halfling drops the rope in the midst of this cheering, kind of like dusts her hands off, and walks off outside of the crowd.
I also clap, and I nudge Tessie, and I say, when they used to invite my family for carnivals in Willowdale, this tug of war was the main attraction. I don't know if I've ever seen quite a discrepancy in the participants, though.
Tessin is just trying to size up this this winning contestant here. Can he... Anything unusual? Any distinguishing markings? Anything like that? Like anything that would this tattoo is I'm a badass,
You can make a perception check.
So much perception.
No.
It's a 1. So,
He was looking, and I nudged him.
Right, and you started talking to him about the festivals, and yeah. Nothing really stands. I mean, looking her over with a little more detail now that you're focused on her as opposed to just the whole scene. Gray eyes, sturdy-looking leather armor, a pewter amulet, but nothing really that screams, I'm from this and don't fuck with me, or I'm with this group and you've seen it. Nothing really. There's nothing individually that sticks out to you.
That's it. It's I'm sorry, Isaac. What did you want to know?
No, nothing. Never mind. Karash, did you check that out, Karash? What do you think? Could you beat the halfling?
Yeah.
You sound ridiculous.
I don't know what you mean, friend. that was almost goofy.
I don't know what you mean, friend.
Oh.
The tiny halfling must be using some kind of magic. She's simply too small to have done that by herself.
Why can't you just believe she's really strong?
Because halflings are not built that way.
Well, maybe you'll get to challenge her and find out.
Why would she just beat someone who is larger than me?
At this point, the man who was officiating things, as it were, or at least kind of gave the signal to start, calls out to the crowd. He says, "Well, any other challengers?" He seems to be looking around. He says, "You know how it goes. Anybody can step up. I don't know if you want to after what we just saw in that last performance, but you could.
We got
Anybody
a challenger
can.
right over here."
And he kind of locks eyes, and he sees Karash over in the crowd. He says, "Well, you look like a strapping young man."
Okay.
You can see the man's like taken aback for a half second. Like he's expecting a give and take, and it's just give. And he's like, well, come on and step on up. We're trying to find who our final challenger will be of the day, and anybody's willing to take her on, but I don't know. I just want to warn you in advance. It could be bad.
This here's Karash of the Thunder. What do we get when he wins?
Well, first you have to earn the right to face our champion. Right now, this halfling woman is in the lead for that. She's taken out 3 other people so far, and if no one else can best her, she will face him in the finals.
Okay, but before I raise my hand, I want to cast Detect Magic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the aura out there for the next 10 minutes. I can detect magic that's around me, apart from, and what school that is from. I'm gonna casually raise my hand up, and I'll walk over like I'm gonna take this seriously.
Okay. So you guys watch as Karash steps forward, looking confident, looking hale and hearty.
As Karash walks up, I tell him, I think this is good for finding your Dragonborn. You're going to... Everyone in the town is going to know who you are. If there's anyone here, they'll know immediately. This is a genius move, Karash.
Okay.
Genius.
Genius, farmer. Genius. The man who's really trying to get the crowd hype, although they're already excited. You know, there's like some different like gasps and stuff as they see a Dragonborn step up. Like that's neat. Unique challenger. The halfling at this point who kind of went over, you've watched her now. She was heading over to the other part of the crowd. She went over and grabbed what appears to be a mug of some kind. Not entirely sure what she's drinking, but refreshed herself with something in between. She kind of looks back and she looks over at you, Karash, and she kind of sizes you up. And she sort of chuckles. She says, "Well, I wish you luck, challenger."
Good luck to you too.
The man who's running the show kind of directs you. He says, "All right, Karash, just stand over here, grab on the rope. On my signal, you'll start to pull, and whoever pulls their cloth across the center is the winner. We do this until there's no challengers left, and then we have our final showdown to see who's crowned at this year's Tug of War Championship."
And I still don't detect any magic off of her?
At this point, as she steps back into the ring, and she's within, 60 feet, right?
30 feet.
30 feet? I will say, for the sake of flavor, because you're not within 30 feet, you do sense something on her. Not enough to pinpoint it, but there is, like, your spidey sense, as it were, for magic feels a tinge of, like, there's something going on there. You're not entirely sure what, but you do pick up on something that does not seem normal.
Okay.
I'm like patting
All right.
Karash. I'm like, Karash, how do you feel? You feeling good?
There's magic. I'm gonna quietly say that to him. There's some kind of magic. I can sense it. I do not think she is playing fair.
Oh, you were right the whole time. Well, just remember, it doesn't matter if you win or lose this. This is to gain attention. But with that said, go out and crush her.
Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
I'm going to brace myself like I am going to tug on this thing for all I am worth. And after about a half a second of the pressure, unless I feel like I'm winning, I'm going to release fully and let her fly backwards.
Okay.
Do I need to roll for this still?
We will have you make a contested strength check. Yes, athletics. No,
Athletics?
just raw
Woo!
strength. Nope, just strength. I lied.
Damn!
It's just strength.
No!
Oh, no.
Let's go back.
Well, we'll see.
Oh, it's bad.
Oh
Well, you
no!
know what? That about fits the theme of what you just said anyway.
So the man checks to see if both contestants are ready. Arm flies down. Crash, you're gonna see how this goes before you implement Plan Alpha, and it starts to go really badly. And she rolled a natural 16 plus whatever she has. You can feel very quickly like, yeah, there's something up here, because you may not be the strongest individual in Aramea, but you know that you're definitely above average. You're damn strong. This should not be happening. And as you feel your toes start to give, even though you're dug in, you think to yourself, something is not right here.
You notice something's wrong when both of your arms are ripped off.
Even the one she's like not even grabbing, like just.
As the blood pours from your stumps.
To the flesh wound.
She's going to make a second strength check. Are you going to contest this or implement the plan?
I'm gonna let go.
Come on, man, have some dignity.
Oh no.
Okay. She rolled a 5 for the record. But it doesn't matter now, because her 5 is more than your 0. As you as you mentioned, you realize you're being pulled way too fast, and so you all of a sudden just let go of the rope, and she does not appear to be ready for this, and as such does indeed stumble backwards and fall. The piece of cloth signifying what would be your defeat doesn't even come across the center line because it's too soon. And you hear what sounds like this collective confused gasp from the crowd, who's like, and it does.
It didn't cross the line?
No.
I'm gonna pick it up and pull it across.
All right, make a strength check with advantage.
19.
So pleased with yourself from your clever gambit having worked, you now pick up the rope and just start pulling, and she's still holding on to it, having fallen to the ground, but she has nothing to brace herself with. She's laying on her back, and now you start pulling her across the ground as she's going across this lovely grass in the city. She's getting grass burns on her back as you pull her now towards the center line.
What dignity, what grace.
Yeah. I talked to Tessie, and I'm like, clever move by Crash, but this is in no way legal, right?
And Tessie just shrugs. He's like, with backwaters like these, who knows?
This is like bunting. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a perfect game in the 8th inning, but here comes the bunt. And then Crash gets a ball thrown at his head in the 9th inning. She's going to attempt to regain her footing. She's making a strength check with disadvantage. A 15 and an 11. She does manage to stand up. She's still being kind of like moved forward because she hasn't had a chance to dig in. But she has regained her footing. You are close to winning, but not quite there yet. I need you to make one more strength check.
Okay.
Come on, Crash.
We
Go,
believe.
go, 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 go.
Oh, that was with advantage again. I'll just redo it.
Okay. I have no idea what the results were, so it's safe to me. It's all,
20, not natural.
She rolled a 3.
Oh, no. I'm like clapping, but like...
You are one of the few who is. There do seem to be a few other people in the crowd who are pleased by this potential outcome, but for the most part, people are just confused. A handful are indeed booing because they feel like that's bad form.
I'm going to pull her, and I'm going to keep pulling her until she is within range of me, and I can detect what kind of magic she was using.
Okay. You pull, and as she approaches the center line, well, as her mark approaches the center line, and she also is pulled with it, she digs in, and you can feel the resistance. Like, you're getting some headway here, but it's not nearly as much as it should be, all things considered. But you're managed to drag her to where her mark crosses the center. And the guy in the center says, "We have a winner!" He doesn't seem to be perturbed by the rule violation if it were one. As you pull her to that point, let me see what Detect Magic says exactly.
Woo.
It says, for the duration you sense the presence of magic within 30 feet of you. If you sense magic in this way, you can use your action to see a faint aura around any visible creature or object in the area that bears magic, and you learn its school of magic, if any.
Okay.
This.
You don't have a school for this, but you do detect a faint glow around her hands. Specifically, the gauntlets that she appears to be wearing.
Okay, I'm going to very loudly. You have lovely magical gauntlets. May I try them on?
Now that I've embarrassed you.
Can I take your dignity as well?
Yeah.
Halfling.
Hey, some of us don't like liars and cheaters.
That's true.
And you get sort of a glare from the halfling. You get a better look at her now, especially now that you're facing her directly. She looks up at you with those kind of piercing light gray eyes. And she says, "Is it really so unreasonable that someone of my stature would have some kind of boost?"
No, it was very obvious.
Yes, well, the organizer knew about it as well, and she kind of gestures over at the man in the middle, and he nods. He says, "Well, we did say it was kind of an all-holds-barred kind of thing, so we knew it's okay. I'm impressed you still managed to beat her, though."
I did not know it was known she was using magic. I apologize, tiny halfling. And I'm going to do the, leave my hand out for the overly macho handshake and direct eye contact.
Are you bending down to do this, or are you staying waist height?
Well, I'm going to make enough of an effort so that she can actually take my hand and shake it if she wants to.
Okay, so you bend down at least enough to where she can reach it, and
Yeah.
she comes over to you. It looks like she's thinking about slapping your hand away, but she does eventually cave and shake it. She says, "What can I say? You beat me fair and square."
Did he though?
Yeah.
I give a look, but I don't say anything.
And there's definitely some tinge to those words as she says them where, you're not entirely sure if she believes that either.
I'm going to give her a big smile and offer to go buy her a beer.
She says, "Well, that's at least some consolation prize. I'll tell you what you're on."
Good. My name is Karash. Who are you?
She says, "Ellen Gare." It's 2 names.
Nice to meet you, Ellen Gare.
Still a little upset, Karash, but I don't even want to call it a dirty trick. It was smart. Using my own leverage against me. What can I say?
It is a game we play with small children, and it is very fun to watch them fall on their butts.
That's so condescending.
Yeah, you're supposed to say, you get kind of like a, "God, I don't know how much I want this beer" look from her.
Well, and I kind of come in at that. I'm like, well, before we get to this beer, I do believe there was talk about facing a champion.
And she kind of she nods. She says, "Yeah, it's a bit premature, I suppose, but you have to see if there's any other challengers first, Karash, and then if so, you have to beat them. If not, you'll face the champion, and then maybe we can have that beer or 2." And she kind of looks up at you hopefully.
Or 3.
She says, "All right, well played." Tell you what, I'll watch from the sidelines. I don't even know if I'm rooting for you at this point. Sometimes you want the person who beats you to win, and sometimes, so I'll just wish you luck.
Thank you. I'm going to stand awkwardly, waiting for to be told what to do next.
And it is kind of awkward because at this point, and there's just that moment before the guy in the middle cuts in here, but there's this moment where everybody in the town's eyes are on you. Make a perception check, Karash.
Oh, dear.
Actually, Isaac, you can too, because you're in the middle.
Yes.
Ooh, 19.
21.
You do at least have a chance to canvass the crowd, which you imagine, I mean, obviously math is not Karash's strongest suit, but you imagine that this is at least like a good chunk of the people in this village, if not maybe like half or so, and you can kind of scan the faces in the crowd, especially the people in the front before they get obscured for a little bit further back. You don't see any Dragonborn, because they would stick out pretty easily, and you guys certainly rolled well enough. For the most part, people just seem to be having a good time. This isn't like a Quasimodo and Hunchback thing where everybody's jeering or anything like that. They're all just kind of like pleasantly happy. Yeah, throwing tomatoes. They're all just kind of pleasantly happy with the proceedings. They don't really seem to care about the methods that were being used either on her end or Karash's. They just seem pretty jovial overall, and it fits with the theme that you've had for this town to this point.
I was scanning for Dragonborn. I'm also scanning for someone
Your father.
else. No. But I didn't talk to you about this other person yet, so we'll just assume I don't see him. I didn't think we were going to get this far so fast. But yeah.
What other person? Because I'll answer you if you want me to, but I don't know who you're talking about.
You will have no clue. So,
Okay.
yeah.
very, very good then. So a voice cuts in. He says, the guy in the middle goes, "Well then, a new challenger perhaps. Are there any who would face him for the right to face our champion?" And you kind of hear murmuring between the crowd, people looking at each other. As you guys, especially Isaac and Karash from the middle, are looking, you can kind of look, and there's occasionally you see somebody like nudging somebody next to them, trying to goad them into doing it, but you can tell from the look of them that unless they're cheating too, they don't have what it takes to win this.
I'm going to be distractedly looking back towards the city to figure out which one of the buildings that I can see is possibly a place to buy beer.
Okay. With that perception check that you had, I'll say you can see that there is what appears to be a tavern off to the north side a little bit. It's pretty close to the town square as well. It seems to be pretty centrally located in this smaller village. Okay. So you're able to pick up on what is at least a, if not the place to do that in this city. After a moment passes, there's this pause and there's this murmuring, but it sort of quiets down. The guy in the middle says, "If there are no other challengers, then Karash, perhaps it is time for you to face our champion. Are we sure?" And everyone looks around. No one steps forward. They seem impressed by you beating the seemingly unbeatable person before. I want you to know that Thea briefly considered it and then decided against it.
Can we bet? Is there anyone taking bets?
Formally, no. You do see, again, as you're kind of standing in the center with that role, you can see that there are a couple people in the crowd who seem to be exchanging a bit of coin over the results of this. And there were a couple people who did look. Those are among the people who were booing. As you look and see like the handful of maybe 4 or 5 people who appear to have lost money on this because of the outcome of, letting the rope go, pick it up, whatever. They're the ones who seem the most upset, which makes sense. But there's nothing like formal happening, no.
I want to get in on one of them. I want to be like, "I'll be your dance partner. 1 goal for Karash of the Thunder."
Just throwing my name out, dude.
Sure, why not? And eager to win back some of his money, one of the guys who lost in the last bet says, "You're on, stranger." I wish, if I wanted to break character, he'd be like, "I don't like your voice." But let's not. So he brings out his own gold piece. Karash, as you're standing in the middle of this ring, you look over and watch as the crowd to your right parts ways, and stepping through is a blue dragonborn.
I fucking knew it.
Do I recognize them?
Make a history check with advantage.
History?
I love it when a plan comes together.
Oh, that was abysmal. A whole 8.
With advantage.
Yep. Guess what the other one was? Not 1.
If anything, you're more distracted by the fact that this is at least clearly one of your kin. To place it directly, it does feel familiar, but there's a lot kind of rushing through your head right now, and they're also still kind of across the length of this circular ring of sorts. So you don't necessarily know right away. Perhaps a closer look would tell more, but for the time being, you're not entirely sure.
Like, I'm gonna be a little bit head swimmy for a second. I'm gonna go forward though. I'm gonna carry on. So this was the game. And as I go to pick up the rope, oh no, excuse me. Before I pick up the rope, I'm going to I'm gonna grab the symbol of cord I have around my neck, and I'm going to cast Bless upon myself, because anything goes, as I recently learned.
Yeah.
And then in Draconic, I'm going to stare down the Dragonborn on the end of the rope and just say, Clan Mysterian.
What you can see from this distance, and it's also being a little bit more difficult as the sun sets here, There is some lighting in the center of the town, but it's, we're getting to the point where the sun is almost completely set. It's getting to be nightfall. You see that this Dragonborn, while clearly blue, has part of what's making this hard for you to identify for sure is they have armor that covers almost like the left half of their face, as well as some armor that also covers their body and arms like you would expect from armor. But as they kind of step up to the ring to face you, as it were, and they take their position on the opposite side, they're a little bit closer to the point where when you say the bit about your clan, there's just a bit of a nod. They don't say anything, but you do notice a bit of a nod as you say that. They're looking right at you, but you still can't necessarily place this.
Karash, it's Bereave. This is the final boss fight.
then we can kill off Karash's character.
You have to be in the tug of war.
This is when the Rocky 3 theme starts to play.
Exactly.
Down. Man in the middle says, "Here we are, champion versus challenger, the final squaring off of this year's festival. Newcomer versus an entrenched champion. I'm curious to see how it goes. Let's find out together." And the arm goes up, and the arm comes down. I need you to make a strength check.
Yeah!
And mine's cocked. So
My
let's
mouth
try
is
it
just
again.
agape as
Oh, I
watch
did it
this.
with, what's it called? Again.
Advantage.
Yeah.
Is there no end to your cheating, Karash? With the plus
Holy
with-
shit.
Oh! At 20! Technically a 24, and I haven't even included my bless into this yet.
Roll the bless anyways, just out of curiosity. But nat 20 is noted.
Someone's losing an arm. Let's do this, boys. somebody call an ambulance. Clean up on aisle 7.
27.
Your challenger rolled a natural 7. I'm gonna have them make a strength saving throw since you rolled a natural 20.
Turns out you hated this guy.
Rolled a 3.
Oh.
So Karash, having blessed yourself with what you at least imagine is the power of Cord, you feel yourself, especially with a surge of confidence from the last one, that person was a cheater. And you don't like cheaters, but you beat that cheater. So you're ready for anything now. As soon as the arm drops, you pull with all of your might, and it is considerable might at times. And you watch as the champion, who by reputation is supposed to be pretty good at this, seems to be caught off guard, maybe by just the quick reaction time to the man's hand coming down, starts stumbling forward almost worse than the half-orc. And even with just one fell swoop, you pull, and it's such a hard pull that it brings their piece of cloth across the center. The Dragonborn, seemingly unable to stop their momentum, also stumbles forward, kind of like falls face first. Not hard, but just enough to kind of like, thud against the ground. The mask that they had on also comes off as part of this as they hit face first and rolls over it on the ground next to you, sort of. Nothing really distinct about it, no markings on it. But as this individual looks up, and you can get a closer look at them now that they're pretty much next to you at this point, maybe just a few feet away, this is a face you recognize. This is Kava.
What the shit?
And that's where we will leave off this recording session.
Who's Kava again? Karash?
So-
My brother, that's supposed to be dead.
Oh, yeah. That's how I recognize that name.
Oh, that's who that is. Oh my god.
So, we will resume next time with part of the party here in Willowdale, part of them back at the ranch with another montage coming up for the evening sheep ritual. Please be excited for that, and we'll see you next time.